Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. This is my second time giving an icebreaker. I figured I'd go about it a little bit differently. So rather than tell you, hi, I'm Elizabeth Sullivan, mother of 4, happily married, just moved to North Carolina, blah, blah, blah. I want to tell you about my reason for being is. And maybe that will help you get to know me a little bit more. I feel like in my life, there were 2 segments. There was the prep segment, the part where I spent years delving into personal development with people in my head, doing listening on YouTube, and really diving in and honing on my craft. Kinda. I was learning a lot. Was I implementing? Kinda. But not as much as I could. I didn't know that then. It all changed for me when I went through a very serious bout of asthma, and over weeks it progressively got worse. And I had to go to the emergency room. And I remember nothing that they did worked. Nothing opened up my lungs. I couldn't breathe. This was the first time that had ever really happened. And I started getting a little panic. I remember they transported me from one hospital to the other, and this moment stands out. I'm laying down, somewhat sitting up because it's hard to breathe when you're laying down, and I'm just counting the street lights out the window, thinking one more tiny little breath till I can get to where they can help me. That was a Friday evening. I woke up on a Tuesday morning with a tube in my throat. I was intubated and in a medically induced coma for a few days. Took the tube out, and I remember this. That evening, I turned on the local news, and I realized that nobody would have known if I was gone. Nobody even knew that I was there. And this little voice on my shoulder just laughed at me. Like, who do you think you are? Of course nobody knows that you're gone. You haven't done anything yet. And this other voice said, yet. You haven't done anything yet. We have a shot. So I don't know if you've ever been in a medically induced coma or intubated, but it takes a lot for your brain and your body to coordinate together after that. So I took a year of healing and really delving in what in the world just happened and what am I going to do with this newfound inspiration. And all of a sudden, months later, out of nowhere, this voice says, move to North Carolina. We had a few friends in North Carolina, but this was not on my radar. You see, I had co-owned a business with my husband. We were very successful and had really been building up the assets and the customer base since 2011. We had a home with our 4 kids there. And he was saying, move? And I thought, may as well try it. So I told my husband, I said, let's move to North Carolina. And he's like, are you serious? And I remember at that moment, I was like, I could either retract this back and be like, no, I'm just kidding. Or I could lean into it and just follow what could it hurt? You see, what I realized was it wasn't the fact that I needed to go, but sometimes the soil is richer somewhere else if you are willing to transplant yourself to a new environment. And that can be church, that can be school, that can be work, that can be your home, whatever sort of environment you find yourself in. Sometimes it's okay to move to somewhere where you can grow deeper. Not that I needed to move to be at Toastmasters. I didn't need to move to write books. But I leaned into it because we wanted to give a new experience to ourselves and to our kids. But it takes sacrifices. One of my daughters chose to stay in Iowa with my ex and be with her family and finish out her high school there. The other daughter, I think, kind of hates me, but she's getting a new environment. I mean, she never would have been brave enough to do this herself. And now I'm also getting to watch my little boys flourish and have access to things that middle of Iowa just couldn't offer them. There's a little glimmer of hope. And I've been able to be here with all of you guys. But it's all through following that intuition of what do I do next, and then risking the fact of judgment. You see, it's all about sacrifice, and my question is, would you make the sacrifice to become who you really need to be? Now, I don't know why leaving an impact matters. I talked a while ago about how, do you remember your great great grandparents, their first name, their last name, any bit of their story? The amount of impact that you need to have to be remembered beyond 3 generations, for some reason that matters to me. For some reason, I'm one of those crazy ones who picked up and moved and decided, I'm going to write books. I wrote 17 of them. I want to be in Web3. So I'm in it. I want to be a speaker. So I'm here at Toastmasters. I moved and I got here on a Friday and I arrived at Toastmasters on a Monday. Today is my son's 15th birthday. Don't worry, we had cake before this. But what I'm saying is that if you want it bad enough, what are you doing to get there? You see, when you know your reason for being, all the rest is BS. So my question for you is, why are you here? And who are you living for? Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.